Welcome, eye candy lovers. It's time we meet again to ponder the age-old philosopher's question, what the hell are we doing here on this planet? And we do this by losing ourselves in art. Works that are being produced across the spectrum of mediums and around the world serve to remind us that there's still hope for our planet and our species. In this presentation, at the top of each section, you'll see a running band with the artist's name. Have a pen and paper nearby, jot down the name, and you'll be able to find their website or Instagram page on the Eye Candy 13 Google Doc on my Eye Candy YouTube channel. Also, you don't know, but I do because I've tested it, that what you're seeing here through a Zoom screen share is a muted reflection of the actual presentation. If you want to see it in all its high-res glory, you can watch the recording also on that same YouTube channel. The link to it is in the chat panel here on Zoom, but I'll also message it to everybody on the RSVP list after the event. Many of you know that my mission is to distribute eye candy to more eyeballs so that more may experience the healing power of art. So please tip me for my hard work by visiting my YouTube Eye Candy channel and posting a comment and/or subscribing. I would really appreciate that. I'm going to hang around afterwards, by the way, so if there are any questions, suggestions, or if you just want to chat, I'll be here. At this time, to preserve Zoom bandwidth, we're stopping all attendees' videos and muting everyone. And finally, just FYI, I'm recording this, but with your cameras and mics turned off, it really shouldn't matter. So with that, it's time to unwrap our candy box. Australian artist Andy Thomas recently shared a montage of new sound art pieces titled Synthetic Nature that shows his digital art as it moves in response to audio. Using a host of software, Thomas is able to stimulate his virtual creations to react to an array of audio inputs. Different frequencies or tones cause the piece to behave in varying ways. The sounds are recorded during his many trips throughout the Australian outback. In other digital video pieces, he uses sounds recorded from outer space, as well as his travels to forests in Thailand, New Zealand, Brazil, and Finland, and we'll be seeing more of him in future presentations. What is it? Matthew Chambers, a ceramic sculptor who lives on the Isle of Wight, specializes in pieces constructed of precisely scaled iterations of the same shape placed inside one another, all built on the potter's wheel. The pieces are unglazed but polished. The color is integral, coming from pigments mixed in with the clay. Each abstract work is unique in color and position. For any of you who have ever dabbled in ceramics, you will appreciate that the skill level here is mind-boggling. I can't even imagine how anybody acquires this level of precision. Japanese pianist Koki Nakano employs the Villa Carmignac, a Provençal farmhouse turned art gallery, as the stage for his ethereal music video titled Port de Bras. The main gallery is lit by a transparent ceiling of water separating up from down and solid from fluid. It is here on the ceiling that dancer and choreographer Maroud Bouayad is suspended. Port de Bras is from Nakano's upcoming album, Oceanic Feeling. Being summer, it's a perfect time to take a dip in some of the most iconic swimming pools in the world, starting at Hearst Castle. At a time when female architects were practically unheard of, Julia Morgan, who did much of her work more than a century ago, will always be remembered for spending 3 decades creating one of the biggest and most impressive homes of all time, William Randolph Hearst Palace in San Simeon, California. This is the indoor Roman pool, both the first and second slide here. There's also an outdoor Neptune pool, which, by the way, pre-COVID, you could rent for a swim, provided you didn't mind spending $1,250. These are exterior shots of Term Valls by architect Peter Zumthor, the 2009 Pritzker Prize winner in architecture. The spa is built over a thermal spring in Valls, Switzerland. The structure is partially submerged in the hillside, nearly undetectable from the back, and the walls are made from locally quarried quartzite stone and built up in layers, 60,000 of them, to appear as if a mountain were cut in half. These are interior shots. The Valls Thermal Baths is one of the most notable buildings in Swiss contemporary architecture, as a testament to the immediacy of its recognition as an architectural masterpiece. Term Valls was listed as a historical site just 2 years after its completion in 1996. In 1973, well-known Spanish architect Ricardo Bofill completed a summer house for his parents near the Costa Brava in Girona, Spain. Built on the ruins of an old country home, the family house is organized around a brick courtyard and a bright red pool. The home is designed to offer a brilliant and different vista from every viewpoint, and totally succeeds in that if you take the time to look at other pictures of this home. Who would think to paint a pool bright red? And how fabulous it turned out. Although the pool at Quadra San Cristobal, a private estate, might look inviting, it's actually not designed for humans. Instead, the watering hole is made specifically for horses to swim in and drink from. While this may seem unexpected, it makes perfect sense given the pool borders stables that are on the property. Built in 1968 and drawing on the ranch typology, Barragan sited the residence and horse stables at the edge of a vast walled courtyard containing a monumental fountain, granary paddocks, and a pasture extending over 6.5 acres. A 33-foot-long pool shares a thick glass wall with the double-height living area of the Sao Paulo apartment, resembling a giant aquarium. It was sewn into a narrow space in the apartment's garden while Fernanda Marquez was carrying out an interior renovation. It is accessible from either the home's second floor or a statement folded stair in the garden. This outdoor pool weaves in and out of the stone walls of Casa Zolotl, a Mexican house that Punto Arquitectonico renovated after finding it in a state of disrepair. The water is accessed by steps down from an outdoor living area. On one side of the pool, a waterfall feature has been incorporated within the doorway of the home's former cistern. Notice anything unusual about this bland gray facade in Marabella, Spain? A glass-bottom pool by Weil Aretz Architects cantilevers from the roof of this home to offer clear views of the Mediterranean Sea over neighboring houses. It overhangs a semi-enclosed terrace adjacent to the entrance of the home, bathing it in rippling light projections and shadows of overhead swimmers. It also shares a glass wall with the first-floor kitchen to provide glimpses of bathers from inside the house. This house in Mexico by Japanese architect Tadao Ando boasts a swimming pool that projects from a hillside and concrete walls that frame views of the Sierra Las Mitras Mountains. The house is built into the hillside, which allowed the architect to create a volume where various horizontal and vertical concrete planes emerge from the landscape at different heights and positions. And now for something completely different. You are looking at the silhouette of the marble machine created by musician Martin Mullen of the Swedish band Wintergatan. This mind-boggling and beautiful music machine is powered by falling marbles. Look closely because they fall fast, and you will see how marbles dropping on various surfaces can make beautiful music. Kudos, too, to the perfect art direction filmed and edited by Hans Knudsen. Italian studio Space Caviar has constructed Dixit Algoritmi, the Garden of Knowledge, an indoor garden with reflective steel steps for the Uzbekistan Pavilion at this year's Venice Art Biennale. The installation at the Uzbekistan National Pavilion mirrors the interiors of the Quattrotesa, an old shipbuilding warehouse, one of the International Contemporary Art Exhibition's two main sites. Here, visitors will be able to listen to Uzbek piano compositions against a backdrop of floral sculptures and hanging clouds of sea lavender. The show explores the ancient origins of some of the digital achievements we use today, specifically modern-day algorithms that find their origins in the works of 9th century Uzbek mathematician Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi. Maybe I pronounced that right. He is considered the father of algebra. Okay, so for all of you Bill Maher fans out there, new rule. Artists can't complain about the cost of their materials. This was made from pipe cleaners, sequins, and cheap beads. These plus found objects gathered from two continents overlay a web of rainbow mesh that's suspended in the U.S. Embassy atrium in Dakar, Senegal. The work by Chicago-based artist Nick Cave, whose sound suits we saw in the last Eye Candy, measures 20 by 25 feet. Physically connecting pieces of both U.S. and Senegalese culture, the piece stands as, quote, a unifier that brings people together. The piece is part of a project for art in embassies, a program led by the U.S. Department of State that fosters cross-cultural exchange through visual arts and spans more than 200 venues in 189 countries. Cave developed the structural portion of the work in his Chicago studio and completed the piece once on site. The resulting installation, which weighs nearly 500 pounds, took Cave and 10 assistants more than 3 months to complete. And by the way, Nick Cave never uses any sketches. He just starts and works. This is a quote. In this video, we have tried to show movement and the enormous chromatic beauty of corals, marine animals that, despite being one of the oldest animals on our planet, are mostly unknown. To capture these images, it was necessary to apply the technique of time-lapse, as the slow movements of these animals can't be understood at a glance. To perform this video, over 25,000 photographs were made for approximately 1 year. We like to think that with this work, we have put a small grain of sand to raise your attention about the Great Barrier Reef, one of the natural wonders of our world, endangered because of global warming and because of the industrial projects of the government of Australia. By the way, on that previous video, I noticed there was a music credit that is no longer accurate because I substituted a different soundtrack. Just for accuracy's sake, so everybody knows. Staying with the underwater theme, this is a detail of vicissitudes located in the Caribbean Sea. It's made from pH-neutral cement and live coral and comprises 25 life-size figures. Jason declares Taylor is a sculptor, environmentalist, and underwater photographer. For the past 16 years, he has been creating underwater museums and sculpture parks, submerging over 1,100 living artworks throughout the world's oceans and seas. Themes explored by these artistic installations include, among others, the climate emergency, environmental activism, and the regenerative attributes of nature. The sculptures create a habitat for marine life while illustrating humanity's fragility and its relationship with the marine world. Quote, "My underwater sculpture installations aim to offer viewers mysterious, ephemeral encounters and fleeting glimmers of another world where art develops from the effects of nature on the efforts of man. The site-specific works are designed on a practical level as a form of marine conservation and artificial reef, and are subject to growth and destruction, and are intended to explore the aesthetics of metamorphosis, decay, and rebirth." This is another broader view of vicissitudes, the same piece. This is called the Raft of Lampedusa. It's in the Atlantic Ocean. This piece is titled The Lost Correspondent. And I love the way he situated it against a wall of, I don't know what, coral? This is the Museum of Underwater Sculpture, Ayia Napa, in Cyprus. And this is another piece and a different view of the same underwater museum. This is titled The Darkest Hour and is a self-portrait by photographer Brooke Shadden. She was inspired by a dead blackbird which she found. She laid it on top of her, photographed herself, and then buried the bird. The actual photo shoot is the smallest part of Shadden's work. After the images are captured, she edits them in Photoshop, adding layers of patina and giving them a timeless fairy tale quality. With each image, Shadden sets out to, quote, "make beautiful that which others find disturbing and mold it into something complex and magnetic." Her mysterious dreamlike figures emphasize the ephemerality of physical existence. Quote, "By studying my connection to darkness, I create worlds that embrace and normalize death, grief, and difficult emotions. My goal is to create a reality where weird is normal and where we can all live our infinitely complex lives, knowing that we all do, in fact, contain multitudes." Well, if these paintings aren't eye candy, I don't know what is. These are the work of a Los Angeles-based artist, Rachel Strum. Quote, Visually investigating the relationship of abstract and representational, elusive versus tangible, and the realms that exist in between, I am focused on duality and the tension that resides between inner and outer. Working with multiple mediums allows me to build layered scenes that sway back and forth between representative and abstract. The literal depth achieved with poured resin is meant to complement the illusionistic depth within the imagery, reinforcing the blurred line between fact and fiction. My intentions are not to convey a specific message, but to elicit feelings with an emphasis on individual viewers' own connotations. Using wire mesh, Eduardo Tresoldi creates worlds that are marvelous, mystical, and almost hallucinatory. This is a quote from the artist's website. Weaving together transparency and the surrounding environment triggers an awareness of space and history and allows what has faded away or never existed to live again in a time that is not its own. The broken rhythms of transparency generate continually changing sequences and amplified points of view, while ephemeral light and atmospheric factors shape the way it is read at different times. This and the next several photographs are of an installation created for a royal event in Abu Dhabi in collaboration with Dubai-based Studio Design Lab Experience. The event, which was attended by 1,900 guests and required only 3 months of planning and development, filled a vast 75,000 square foot interior space. Though it has the appearance of being outdoors, look closely and you'll see the lighting suspended from the ceiling in most of these shots. Tresoldi's mesh sculptures lend an ethereal presence while also augmenting the impression of depth. Arranged as a Roman classical floor plan, the sculptures were organized like architectural monuments in a city to create an open plaza in the center. After the event, by the way, some of these artworks were reinstalled separately in universities, museums, and parks across the UAE capital. And this is looking up at that central pavilion. In 2018, Etheria was designed by Eduardo Tresoli for the Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival, or just Coachella, as we Angelenos say. The work is composed of 3 mesh buildings of neoclassical and Baroque inspiration. The 3 structures are identical in form, but of increasing size, 36, 56, and 72 feet, respectively. Etheria is a site-specific installation admired during the 2 weekends of the festival, only to be removed afterward. This is a permanent installation commissioned by the Ministry of Cultural Heritage, Activities and Tourism in Siponto, Italy. And this is the same thing at night. Whoops, that went too quickly, sorry. This is an installation at the ex-Dogana, a Roman events venue and a former customs house now used for music gigs, exhibitions, and planetarium shows. In September 2019, Tresoldi unveiled Symbiosi in Trento, Italy. The installation can be found in the famous Arte Sella Park, which suffered serious damage last winter due to storms, but continues its regeneration thanks to his work. Arte Sella is an outdoor art gallery where artworks blend with nature in perfect harmony. The artists use materials found in the surrounding forests, completely in tune with the local area. With the passage of time and the changing of the seasons, the installations themselves change and transform, just like the nature around them. Well, this is the street artist known as Rocket01. This painting in Russia near Moscow was done as part of Russia's annual Urban Morphogenesis Festival, which began in 2019. Street artists and muralists from all over the world create enormous murals, turning bland Muscovite housing estates into open-air art museums in under 2 weeks' time. This mural is in Caxias, Portugal, and was done for the Infinito Festival. This is Rocket01's mural for Poste Italia, who organized a huge number of artists to paint post office buildings in many locations throughout Italy. Working with the municipality of Bologna, the theme for this mural was "We all work a little better when we're surrounded by nature," and was focused on study and education. Titled Habitat, this graffiti character was painted in Sheffield, England at the Bradfield Waterworks. Oh, and here's the Bradfield Waterworks, in case you wonder. Okay, no narration here from me, not yet. I'm just going to let you be wowed by the following renderings, which are plans for The Line, a city to be built in Saudi Arabia. The Line will be the first city in the world with no streets, no cars, and no traffic jams. It will be part of the much larger $500 billion project called NEOM, which was announced by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in 2017 and is currently under construction. The line will be 106 miles long, 1/3 mile high skyscraper and entirely clad on the outside with a mirrored surface to blend in with the landscape. The new urban development concept will connect the Red Sea coast to the mountains and upper valleys of northwestern Saudi Arabia. The structure will, if built, be a social and economic experiment. The city aims to be carbon neutral through the elimination of carbon-intensive infrastructures such as cars and roads, and will run on 100% renewable energy as part of the Crown Prince's initiative Saudi Vision 2030, a plan that seeks to reduce Saudi Arabia's dependence on oil, diversify its economy, and develop public sector services. This is a promotional video, not something I normally show, but needed this time, I think, for context.
For too long, humanity has existed within dysfunctional and polluted cities that ignore nature. Now, a revolution in civilization is taking place. Imagine a traditional city and consolidating its footprint, designing to protect and enhance nature. The line will be home to 9 million residents and will be built with a footprint of just 34 square kilometers. And we are designing it to provide a healthier, more sustainable quality of life. The line's communities are organized in 3 dimensions. Residents have access to all their daily needs within 5-minute walk neighborhoods. And the line's infrastructure makes it possible to travel end to end in 20 minutes with no need for cars, resulting in 0 carbon emissions. By leveraging AI technology, services are autonomous, saving you time and effort. Designed by world-leading architects, the line is 500 meters tall, 200 meters wide, 170 kilometers long, and housed within an elegant mirror glass facade. Intelligent solutions create efficiency and year-round temperate microclimate with natural ventilation. Energy and water supplies are 100% renewable. The line is designed as a series of unique communities, offering a wealth of amenities, providing equitable views and immediate access to the surrounding nature. With 40% of the world accessible within 6 hours, at the heart of the globe's key trade routes, a place for commerce and communities to thrive like nothing on Earth seen before. The line, the city that delivers new wonders for the world.
Layers is a digital art film by Russian director Maxim Zeskov, which follows a mutating black monolith as colorful layers are revealed inside, showcasing a stark contrast between its surface and core. Several iterations of the digital sculpture are bisected by an invisible force, showcasing intense colors that fill the excavated shapes, while the objects float through fictional gallery spaces, presenting each as impossible sculptures that can only be produced by digital means. In his ongoing series Spectral, Las Vegas-based photographer Cody Cobb projects an ultraviolet light source across desert shrubs and secluded rocky coves, unveiling an invisible spectrum of blues and oranges. Lichens, falling leaves, and the bacteria growing from lava tubes become radiant life forms and transform locations in Washington, Utah, California, and New Mexico into otherworldly landscapes. Focused on organic material like mineral deposits and plants, Cobb's photos expose what he describes as a parallel world where the UV light allows an extraterrestrial eeriness to emerge. Quote, because I need such low ambient light levels for the fluorescence to show up in the exposures, I'm out making these at very odd hours of the night. There's such a strange dreaminess to exploring these lands alone and in the dark. Photographer Mickey Schaefer captured Dean Potter on a high line at Cathedral Peak as part of a project for National Geographic called The Man Who Can Fly. Potter was a pioneering rock climber, base jumper, and wingsuit flyer until he fell to his death in 2015 during a wingsuit flying accident in Yosemite National Park. This high line was set up on the summit of Cathedral Peak in Yosemite at an elevation of 10,911 feet. Potter was untethered. Quote, hands down, this was the most complicated shot I've ever taken. It started a year earlier with Potter seeing the moon rise over Cathedral Peak and noticing that it would make a great shot. A bit skeptical, Schaefer used an app called the Photographer's Ephemeris to locate where the moon would rise from. Quote, I went out the night before to shoot with a GPS and lined everything up. Sure enough, the moon rose exactly where I thought it would. Schaefer set himself on an adjacent ridge from Potter, about 1.2 miles away, and began shooting at 7:30. Thankfully, the light was absolutely perfect. As it was just 10 minutes before the direct sunlight would be off Dean. This allowed me to balance the exposure evenly between Dean and the moon. Schaefer worked throughout the filming of the show, from rigging ropes to operating video cameras, all the while shooting still images as well. The image of Potter against the moon stands out from the rest of the shoot. The whole scenario seemed crazy, Schaefer says. I was over a mile away from my subject, who was walking a tightrope with certain death consequences if he fell. I was running through the woods with $20,000 worth of camera gear, making the most unique photo of my career. I'm still a bit amazed that I managed to get the shot.
Amazing!
After months of effort.
By far the most beautiful video shot we've got of it yet. Like, it's pretty much magic.
It's looking amazing. Oh my god. Wow, look at this.
120 frames per second at 4K in the dark. F45, ISO 16,000.
Oh my God, he actually did it. No safety leash. He's fully free solo right now.
Like, the timing of it was absolutely magical, and it looked stunning.
Oh, he's walking on the crater of the moon.
No rope in the dark.
Unbelievable.
Some of the best shots of our lives right here, guys. Really, really impressive feat of art and climbing, all the technology. Amazing, man. Thank you so much.
That was so beautiful.
Oh, he's crying.
Well, folks, that does it for Eye Candy 13. Thank you for coming. I hope you loved it, and I'll see you next time.